Distinguished guest speaker, the Acting Director General, Chief Executive Officer, and Registrar of the National Institute of Science Laboratory Technicians, Dr. Peter Adebisoye, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilesa, Professor Taiwo Olufemi Ashalu, PhD, FCA. Who is ably represented here today by the Chairman, Committee of Deans and Dean Sciences, Professor Ida Kolawole Ibamiji. The principal officers, the host dean, and dean faculty, deans and directors, heads of department, esteemed members of the academic and non-academic staff, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor and privilege to warmly welcome you all to the maiden faculty lecture series of the Faculty of Science Laboratory Technology, University of Ilesa. A round of applause, please. Today's lecture themed the relevance of science laboratory technology profession in advancing industrial breakthrough and wealth creation for national development comes at a critical time when nations across the globe are leveraging science, innovation, and technology as catalysts for industrial transformation and sustainable economic growth. This gathering provides an invaluable platform for intellectual engagement, professional reflection, and the exchange of ideas on how science laboratory technology can continue to drive innovation, strengthen research, stimulate entrepreneurship, and contribute meaningfully to national development. As we settle down to benefit from the wealth of knowledge and experience of our distinguished guest speaker, I urge us to participate with open minds and a shared commitment to excellence. I have no doubt that today's discourse will not only broaden our understanding of the profession, but will also inspire greater collaboration between academia, industry, and professional bodies in charting a prosperous future for our nation. Once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are most warmly welcome, and I wish us all a fruitful, rewarding lecture. Another round of applause, please. Without wasting much of our time, I'll go straight to introductions. And the first person I'd like to introduce today, I'm changing my style because today is our day. She's the owner of the show. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite the Dean Faculty of Science, Laboratory and Technology, Professor Fausat Olabudati. Because she's our host here today, she'll be welcoming all other dignitaries to the high table. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me invite to the high table the #1 citizen of our university. The man that is working, the man that is getting results. Who is ably represented here today? Professor Taiwo Olufemi Ashalu, PhD, FCA, the Vice Chancellor of the University. That applause is too small for the Vice Chancellor. Let me specially invite to the high table our guest speaker. Radiation health physicist, laboratory research scientist, laboratory manager, coach, human resource manager, educational technology expert, and electronics and instrumentation specialist. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the item, Dr. Peter. Yes, Mrs. Bola Aroshede. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to go to the introduction of our deans who are ably represented here today. Physically, let me start by introducing to us the Dean, Faculty of Public Health. I introduce Professor Taiwo. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Dean, Faculty of Law is very much in the house. I introduce Professor Adiola Ayodele Oluwabi. Distinguished gentlemen, the Acting Dean, Faculty of Agricultural Science is here. I introduce Dr. Fumilayo Bosede Oyekan. Let me also Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the director, Sandwich Program, is very much in the house with us. I introduce Dr. Omolola Fausat Arimolan. The director, Sports, University of Ilesa is very much in the building. I introduce Dr. Fumilayo Phoebe Anadeki. Let me also recognize the presence in our midst of the director, Distant Learning Center. I introduce Dr. Yetune Feruke Bello. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is very important for me to introduce to us the man who is the chairman of the organizing committee for this lecture. I introduce Professor Jacob Olalekan Arawa. Thank you very much. Moving forward, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite to the microphone the Dean, Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology, for our welcome address. Can we put
the Vice Chancellor, Professor Taiwo Olufemi Ashaolu, PhD FCA, ably represented by the Chairman, Committee of this, Professor Abel Ibanji, the Registrar, Bossa Librarian, the Registrar represented by Mrs. Bola Olosheye, this Bossa is absentia, the Librarian absentia, Deans of all faculties, Directors, Head of Departments, and the academic community. Distinguished guest lecturer, Dr. Peter Adefusoye Oluwafisoni, DD, Nigeria Institute of Science Laboratory Technology, the science laboratory professionals and technologists, our dear students, ladies and gentlemen, it is with profound honor and a deep sense of institutional responsibility that I welcome you all to the Faculty of Science Laboratory Technology Lecture Series. Today marks a defining milestone in the intellectual journey of our faculty. This lecture series is not merely an academic tradition in making. It is a strategic platform designed to stimulate discourse, inspire innovation, and reinforce the relevance of our professional in national development. The theme before us, the relevance of science laboratory profession in advancing industrial breakthrough and wealth creation for national development, is both timely and visionary, given the low employment rate and the country's tasks for industrial development and entrepreneurship. Across the globe, industrial breakthroughs are not accidental. They are products of systemic experimentation, precise analysis, quality control, research integrity, and technological competence. At the center of these processes lies the laboratory, and at the heart of the laboratory stands the science laboratory technologist. Industries ranging from pharmaceuticals to petrochemicals, agriculture to environmental management, and food technology to biotechnology all depend fundamentally on laboratory science for their progress. Without accurate testing, validation, standardization, innovation cannot scale. Thus, without laboratory professionals, The industry cannot thrive and national development will remain aspirational. In developing countries such as ours, maritime research is important for economic growth and should lead towards translating laboratory research into industrial application and entrepreneurship, strengthening regulatory compliance and quality assurance systems, positioning science laboratory technology as a driver of entrepreneurship and wealth creation, equipping science laboratory technology students graduates not only for employment but for enterprise. The clear understanding and proper execution of these activities, which are keys to success in innovation, underscore the urgency of this theme. In addition, this lecture series will deepen professional consciousness, strengthen collaboration between academia and industry, inspire solution-driven research, and also mentor our students to become globally competitive professionals and self-reliant. As a faculty, we recognize our responsibility extends beyond awarding degrees. We are mandated to produce professionals who are technically sound, ethically grounded, innovative in thoughts, entrepreneurial in action, and responsive to national needs. I'm assured that the lecture our distinguished guest, Dr. Peter Adefisoye will deliver will enlighten us further of these virtues and equip our students with the knowledge and understanding needed to advance along these emerging trends. Therefore, we are deeply honored, sir, by your presence. Your leadership at the Nigerian Institute of Science Laboratory Technology represents regulatory stability, professional advocacy, and institutional growth within our field. We look forward to the insight you will share with us today. To our students, you are the future custodians of this profession. The laboratory is not merely a workspace, it is a space of transformation. Approach it with discipline. The breakthroughs of tomorrow may well begin on your laboratory bench, which is today. To my esteemed colleagues and members of the academic committee, publish vigorously, mentor loyally, and uphold the standards that define our profession. As a sustained intellectual tradition within our faculty, one that we continue to provoke thoughts, inspire innovation, and contribute meaningfully to national discourse. Thank you, and God bless.
That is too small for the day, please. We will take the address by the...
Good morning, colleagues. Permit me to say this before I read the address of the Vice Chancellor. I saw the students and colleagues, and I've been observing it sometimes before now, whenever we sing our school anthem. I've been to OAU. Let me use OAU as an example. It may look as if I'm jealous, and I'm not jealous. Whenever they sing their own school anthem, sincerely, if you want to sing your own, you will keep quiet. They will have swagger. You know, something that now made me to be angry the most is Professor Adiola and Professor Deruga, sorry. Great, if I love you. If you see that area, the people dance, they will... God. But when the students were just covering when we were thinking about own the other time, see, let me tell you something. The University of Ilesa is our home. President Jan, no matter how he loved us, yeah, he will go back to OAU. And Adiola will do the same. Others, like, they will do the same. If we like, let's spoil it. Let's spoil that anthem. It remains our home. I want to advise us all. Let's add swagger to it. Let's make it beautiful. Let's make it singable. That even when you are do something to make it, don't. God. God will help us. I was forced to go and browse all the content of that lyric. I was like, what is even the content of that song that made it to be as powerful as it look as if it's more even powerful than the words that I hear. But see, President others from where you, I'm sorry, please. The University of Ilesa is our home. Do you understand? Whether you like it, if you like, sing it anyhow. If you like, just sing it upside down. You will not be given BSc, SLT, OE. No, it remains University of Ilesa. Thank you so much. The principal officers, deans, directors, and heads of department, our guest lecturer, Dr. Peter Adefisoye, Oluwafisoye. I was thinking within me, why the emphasis? Is it that in case you forget the first time, don't forget it. I'm repeating it again. Fisoye. Pardon me, sir. Acting Director General, Registrar and Chief Executive Officer, Nigeria Institute of Science, Laboratory and Technology. No? Science, Laboratory, Technology. Pardon me. I had OND in SLT, so I'm one of you. SLT, because they usually call us holy doctor then. You know, those people that don't know the right from the left, once we put on this our lab coats, they'll be calling us holy doctor. I usually ask myself, what's the meaning of this? Well, it is well. Distinguished guests, members of staff, students, industry partners, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Taiwo Femi Ashaolu, PhD, FCA, who is presently unavoidably absent, I welcome you all to the first faculty lecture series of the Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology. Your presence here today underscores the significance of this gathering and our shared commitment to advancing knowledge for industrial breakthrough and wealth creation for national development, especially at this critical time of economic adjustment. Faculty lecture series such as these provide a crucial platform for intellectual discourse, critical reflection, and the exchange of ideas on issues that shape our society and national aspirations. Universities are not only centers for teaching and learning, they are engines of innovation, research, and sustainable development. Though, through ideas like this, we reaffirm our responsibility to contribute meaningfully to national discourse and development. The theme of today's lecture, relevance of science, laboratory technology in advancing industrial breakthrough and wealth creation for national development, is both timely and essential. It speaks to the urgent need to transform bench knowledge into entrepreneurial and industrial value. I am pleased to inform you that the University of Ilesa is one of the few universities in Nigeria with a full-fledged Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology. The university remains committed to every detail that affects the quality of teaching, impactful research, innovation, and strategic partnership with industry and government. We recognize that addressing contemporary developmental challenge demands stronger collaboration among academia, industry, policymakers, and professional bodies. Such partnerships are essential for translating scientific research and knowledge into practical solutions and for fostering entrepreneurship that drives economic growth and national development. I also emphasize that the insight from this lecture will ignite innovative thinking, strengthen industry academic collaboration, and advance our national development goals. On this note, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Taiwo, PhD, FCA, it is my great privilege to formally declare the faculty lecture series on the Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology open. I wish you all a rewarding and intellectual stimulating session. Thank you very much.
When the Prof was delivering the thesis message, he was hammering on the Oye in the name of the guest lecturer's names. But what I found out again is that we are saying Oye, we cannot even say traditional beats. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I'd like to call on Mr. Olawumi Samuel Akiwale to come and take the citation of the guest.
Until I'm done with this citation. Dr. Peter Adebsoye is a radiation earth physicist, laboratory research scientist, laboratory manager, coach, human resource manager, educational technology expert, and electronics and instrumentation specialist. He attended Moremi High School, Ilesa, where he completed his secondary education in the 1980s and attended Obafemi Awolowo University, Ilesa, where he obtained a diploma in physical and earth education in 1992 and subsequently obtained a national diploma from the Federal Polytechnic Ede. He was awarded the higher national diploma in science laboratory technology with physics electronic option by the Nigeria Institute of Science Laboratory Technology and a final diploma in science laboratory technology with physics electronics from the University of Ibadan, UI. Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye and his Bachelor of Science, DSE in Physics with electronics from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwe, and a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Ibadan. He holds 3 master's degrees, namely Master of Education and Education Technology from the National Open University, Master of Business Administration with specialization in Human Resource Management from Madobe University of Technology, Ogbomoso, and Master of Science in Earth and Radiation Physics from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwe, Ogun State, where he graduated as the president in his class. In 2020, he was awarded the Doctor of Philosophy by the National Open University of Nigeria, where he was the first PhD graduate in his department and faculty. The second PhD graduate produced by man after former President Olusegun Obasanjo. This achievement was featured in Now at a Glance, published in 2022. Currently, he is in the advanced stage of his second PhD program with extensive research on breast cancer diagnosis and detection at Ruma University. He became a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Science and Technology in 2009. A fellow of Chartered Institute of Administration, FCIA, in 2014. He also a fellow of Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, a member of Nigerian Society of Radiation Protection, and a member of the Nigerian Institute of Physics. He was trained by the International Atomic Energy Agency in nuclear instrumentation. Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye has over 25 years of university work experience, spanning teaching and research laboratory, including instrumentation, solar energy, radio, nuclear, dosimetry, and electronics laboratory. He worked with the defunct Federal Radiation Protection Service, the agency responsible for nuclear and radiation protection in Nigeria, before the establishment of Nigeria Nuclear Regulatory Authority in 2005. The radiation monitoring team was led by him, where he oversaw the inspection of numerous X-ray centers and users of radioactive sources in Nigeria, including ExxonMobil Petroleum Unlimited, Chevron Nigeria Limited, Shell Petroleum Development Company, Warri Refinery, and Petrochemical Company LMA Petrochemical Company Limited, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, among others. He passes extensive working knowledge of National Calibration Laboratory, which houses the Society Secondary Standard Dosimetry Laboratory, one of the only few in West Africa. In 1998, and he joined Oshute University at its inception in 2007, where he played a pivotal role in the development and design of various laboratories, including the procurement of laboratory equipment, reagents, and chemicals. As an expert in laboratory design, equipment design, development, and fabrication, he has vast experience in equipment maintenance calibration. He was appointed as the first student industrial work experience scheme assistant coordinator, deputy director, a position he held for 6 years, spanning 2019 to 2015. Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye was the university sport secretary from 2009 to 2014 and was instrumental in the registration of Uniosun with the Nigeria University Games Association (NUGA) in 2010 and the West African University Games in 2013. Equally, he played a vital role in Uniosun participation in the Nigeria University Staff Association Games, during which the university sponsored 25 staff members to participate in various sporting activities for the first time and was a council member of NUGA and NUSA. In 2017, he was appointed Director of Sport Oshute University, a position he held until his appointment and secondment to Nigeria Institute of Science Laboratory Technology, NISLT, in 2019. He has attended numerous scientific conferences and training workshops within and outside Nigeria, and has authored over 30 articles in both local and international journals, and also served as an associate editor of Journal of Laboratory Science since 2019. Currently, he has AI index of 6 in Google Scholar and ResearchGate with 103 citations in Google Scholars and 75 citations ResearchGate. He served as an external examiner to the University of KwaZulu-Natal in campus in South Africa for PhD examination, as an external examiner for NISLT for fellowship thesis. Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye has delivered more than 100 training lectures under the NISLT short-term training program and currently serves as a facilitator for the NISLT Fellowship Renewal Program, teaching courses on business and entrepreneurship, law, financial management, marketing, budgeting, and accreditation process, among others. The Association of Science and Technology of Nigeria at Uniosun establishment involved its active contribution. He also served as its chairman at Osun State University for 2 terms. In 2019, he served as the Aston Southwest Zonal Secretary. He was a resource facilitator for the training of laboratory personnel at the University of Lagos, University of Abuja, Federal University of Technology Akure, and the Federal University of Agriculture Abeokuta, among others, and was a consultant on the appointment and promotion of laboratory personnel in several universities, including University of Ibadan, Federal University of Agriculture Abeokuta, and Fonte University. The NUC approval on the establishment of Science Laboratory Technology degree program in University of Ilesa was obtained under his consultancy. In 2019, he was appointed Director of Education Training and Inspectorate of NISLT and was instrumental to the development of minimum requirement for establishment of SLT program in Nigeria, development of renewed NISLT fellowship curriculum, and the architect of NISLT mandatory professional exam. On May 5, 2025, he assumed office as the Acting Director General, Registrar, and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Institute of Science, Technology and ICT, Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye is happily married to Mrs. Mary Oluwabukola Oluwafisoye ní Abuja. And their children, ladies and gentlemen, I have to present to you Dr. Peter Oluwafisoye, a distinguished scientist, administrator, and academic, a fellow of Nigerian Institute of Science and Technology, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Administration, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, a member of Nigerian Institute of Physics, the acting Director General and Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Institute of Science and Technology, as he made his presentation. Please welcome.
Please be seated, please. The Vice Chancellor, Professor, ably represented by Professor Abel Olawale Oyebanji, I want to appreciate you so much. The Vice Chancellor has actually done very well for this university. And let me tell us that Ilesa is the fastest growing university in Nigeria. Honestly speaking, to see the number of development that we have in this university. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, congratulations on this. God will continue to support your administration. I want to equally appreciate the management staff, especially the registrar, Mr. Funsho Ojo. I remember some years back when we discussed when the university was going to start, and I met him, and we discussed about SLT. For the first year, nobody knows about SLT. The second year, he called me and said, SLT, we want to have SLT in Ilesa. And of course, we gave everything that is required to ensure that SLT, come to light. That time I was giving a letter as a consultant. And of course, we have to have some sleepless nights to ensure that this program actually started. I want to appreciate all professors, and I want to actually thank Dr. Fagbemi, who was the first, I think, the dean then, and Mr. Awu Laju, I think, who was the HOD then, because it was not easy. I can tell you, starting SLT then, from the scratch was not easy for us at all. So I see myself as part of the family here. So I want to appreciate the university. Prof, I want to thank you and congratulate you on this milestone. The registrar represented another protocol delivery officer. But before I just mention that, I can always say that I'm part of this university and part of this family. Incidentally, my siblings, my sister is a member of the council of this university, Professor Adejumoke Adelowo. We are born of the same parents. In fact, I took the breast after her mother. And also in the house here, you see that our name will be changed, but people may not know. Associate Professor Martin Sajibadi Adefisoye is my younger brother. He's also here, seated in this auditorium. So this university is actually blessed to have three of us actually making a part in this great university. And I can tell you that this university will go to higher ground. Yeah. The Vice Chancellor, when he was actually speaking, mentioned about the anthem of the university. I can tell you that the anthem actually speaks about the lecture we want to look at today. The anthem talk about you having skill, having knowledge. I look at the anthem and I said this is a super anthem. You may not understand it, but it's a super anthem that you need to learn by heart and know the heart of it and be able to make use of it. And I pray the Almighty God will continue to help us. Well, I don't know, protocol can be funny at times. I will not forget the chairman of this ceremony, Professor Alawande, and team. I will not deceive you, to start to have a program like this is not something that is especially the first one. I want to appreciate all the lecturers in SLT department and the faculty, all the deans, professors. I want to appreciate all of that. I cannot call you by name. And I want to appreciate all the students of SLT. So I bring greetings from the Governing Council and Management of this Nigeria Institute of Science and Technology, which got our heart in 12 of 2003, where I currently serve as the acting DG. I can assure you, any SLT student that does well in the future can also become the DG, if you know what you are doing. Because some of us take with SLT. People don't believe in SLT before. But by the time you finish this lecture, you know that SLT is the best course anybody can study in Nigeria today. And I can tell you that you have not made mistake at all in studying SLT. You have not made any mistake at all. Because SLT is actually the best. And you are going to see why it is the best. Having said that, in this lecture, let me just quickly, because of our time, we are going to look at some objective in this lecture. Will you permit me to just go down? Just come around here. My vice chancellor, let me just go and that is seen everywhere in the world. That is, that is accepted people everywhere in the world. That is needed everywhere in the world. And from our agency, on the normal, almost every day we have people that are traveling abroad internationally requesting to have the license of the institute before they travel. Because in Nigeria we do some certain things that I just have degree. There, they don't just have degree. They want to see your professionalization and the skills you have. And until we actually be able to understand that in Nigeria, of course, it might be difficult to actually go. So SLT actually talk about scientific principles, laboratory techniques, instrumentation, quality system, and technological innovation. Then, of course, it's supporting scientific research, industrial production, environmental management, healthcare, education, and national development. Of course, I will not bother us much with this. We know that Nigeria has what we call history of education in Nigeria. And of course, unfortunately, the whites, when they are leaving, they gave us something that will look like serving them. And probably that is why we are not actually, we say we are now independent, but meanwhile, we still attach to them. Because if you want to have publication in Q1 journal, I don't know if any journal in Nigeria is Q1. You have to send it Stringer, Scopus, you have to send it abroad. So we are still like attached to them, one way or the other. But incidentally, the former Deputy Secretary, Professor Peter Kebula, is saying, let us have Africa for Africa, so that you can get there. But now, we are still attached to them. So SLT actually started like every other courses that started in those days. And you just get people to come into the lab and get some knowledge and begin to perform. But in 1971 to be precise, because people that actually study lab program, they actually have their certificate from London. We call it City and Guild of London in those days. But later, Nigeria now felt it is necessary to have Nigerian domesticated SLT program. So in 2003, we actually got the act that established the NISLT and gave us a number of mandates to be able to work and help the nation. I'm happy that I have the subject of medical lab here, because the act of medical lab was given on the same day, 23rd July 2003, and the act of medical lab was actually Act 11, while the act of SLT is Act 12, 2003. They got it the same day. But of course, there are some current things that come into each other, or other things that separate them. So through this act, of course, the institute used to be Nigeria Institute Science and Technology. The lab was not there, but later the lab was introduced. So this is our office in Ibadan. Of course, we have offices all over Nigeria, Abakaliki, Yola, and others, but this is the headquarters in Ibadan. And this act was given to us, like I mentioned, Act 12/2003, which actually made SLT to have legal standing in Nigeria. So the mandate of the institute, the chief mandate, is to advance science, laboratory, technology profession in Nigeria. And that is why we get involved, of course, in accreditation and programs of SLT in Nigeria. In the past, people look at science, and the truth is when you study science, you are studying the theory. Then you study engineering, you are actually designing, and people jump the lab. In fact, people relegate the lab. You can't get very good technology if you bypass the lab. I've seen people that will not go to the lab and just come out with some concepts and publish paper, and they are not in the lab. And those things are just maybe for promotion and not the rest. What happens to the lab? There are some journals that will tell you in which lab did you carry this out. I wanted to publish a paper years back, and they were asking me, the equipment you use, where was it calibrated? Where was it calibrated? Does it have calibration? And which lab did you use this equipment? But what some of us we know, we just try to go somewhere and get our work actually published. So the laboratory is actually very, very key and important, and it's important to the development of this country. Of course, we have mandates in the institute to prepare, disseminate curricula for polytechnics, and I can assure you that when you check the CCMAS of NUC, you see that SLT was highly represented. In fact, the chairman of the committee of SLT was Professor Mboto of University of Calabar, the first SLT HOD in Nigeria to be a professor. So we are represented in that curriculum, which I'm going to talk about later. Of course, majorly because of the Act, it talks about standard of knowledge to be exposed to equipment and practical skills. Like I said, the Act, the institute anthem talks about skill. You cannot achieve anything without having the skill. It's not just having the certificate. SLT is different from other sciences, and that's the truth. Anybody can teach you motion and you cram it. You must know the motion. You must actually understand the motion. What are we talking about? Motion 1, motion 2, Newton law 1, Newton law 2. How does this thing actually move? You need to understand it as an SLT graduate. It's not just I just cram it and I can pour it. You must be able to practicalize it. So with that, you see, we develop the CCMAS for SLT, which I will going to look at. Later we register scientists, technologists. Now, it is important to quickly say this. When you have a degree of SLT in the university, you are a laboratory scientist, not a technologist. Because I can see from what we have that technologists, yes, technologists, those people that have been changing, they are the technologists. Once you have your BSc, BLM, MNS, BSLT, you are a scientist. In fact, I take this up with the executive secretary NUC, and he wrote to all vice chancellors in Nigeria recently that when you have BSc, SLT, you should be recognized as laboratory scientists. That is very important. So we have the scientists who also have the certification, and of course, all this. Of course, we carry out research, we do regulation, and then we conduct routine checks and carry out accreditation. We do servicing, we ensure that safety standard. We just finish a training on safety standard on whatever, which some of these things we'll talk about and look at. For example, I was giving a lecture during the week, and I said, do you know the equipment? Even phone that you have can kill you. And someone said, yes, you are kind of people that die. So there are safety concerns that you need to actually be able to follow when you talk about. And SLT will actually teach you all those safety whatever. I tell people, what distinguishes SLT from maybe I study physics, I study about them. There are 7 courses that SLT graduate will take that other science students will not take. And which is very, important and fundamental for them to be able to work and work well in the laboratory. So of course there are flagging programs that we do. I will not bother us much with this. If you have the slide, you can read. I've thought about the legal framework, what makes SLT to stand with the government. So in this module 2, we look at SLT as a multidisciplinary course. In Nigeria as of today, I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor again, because when we came, fortunately I was the director then before my DG left, and we recommended, according to the council, that when you have 4 options and above, SLT, we are going to look at it as 8 options approved by NUC. How can you have 8 options and say it's a department? It can't be a department, it's a faculty on its own. And we told him, as of today, we have 3 universities running SLT as a faculty, and Ilesa is one of them. So we have this university that are running SLT now, Delta State, all these universities, they are running SLT in Nigeria, recognized by us. There are some that are running it as quack. They are running it as quack, and they are training quack, and I told them they are training quack. Let me also mention this. My former registrar, and CEO said, Ilesa is the first and the only university that followed due process in establishing SLT program in Nigeria. I have to mention that. Because doing what you are supposed to do, knowing what you are supposed to do, there is a university I'm going to visit them on 6th of whatever, in Southwest here. And I'm going to tell the Vice Chancellor, your student can never practice SLT in Nigeria. They can't. I met the student that asked them question. They can't answer. They said they are not done practical. I said it's not SLT they are doing. Convert them to other whatever. And that's the truth. SLT is different from other sciences. I pray God will just help us. So we have this university running SLT, and of course, up to 24 now. We have one university, they wanted to write our professional exam this last whatever, they said students from Castina or Kano, and they said they can't write. They are running SLT for 4 years and not 5 years. That can never be a curriculum of SLT. It's not possible. So they can't write the professional. So what happened to the students that they have graduated? It's a problem that the school have to solve on their own. So of course, the SLT CC Mass talks about, page 655 talks about NISLT inducting students into the program. So which means NISLT must be carried along even in activity that the school actually do when you are talking about the SLT program. Unfortunately, some schools are not carrying those along. How do you not go and induct their students? It's a problem. Ilesa, of course, is doing well. So I will not also bother us with this so that we can move. Now, in the CC Mass, I mentioned also we have 8 options. Currently, when I was conducting for this university, we started with 4 options. But the university can actually go to have 8 options according to the CC Mass that we have. And of course, we know that ideally, courses in other level could be like that of the physics, chemistry, or general sciences. But when students get to 200 level upward, they specialize and they start having their courses in their department and in their faculty. Some of these we are going to look at. When you study SLT, it gives you room. I want to appreciate the chairman that said he didn't do SLT, which will give you room to be able to actually work in different laboratories, in different areas. SLT can actually help you as a professional to work in chemical laboratory, biological, physical, electronics, biotechnology, and not the rest. As quality assurance, among others, a number of things that you can actually do when you study SLT. So the core function of SLT include laboratory analysis, laboratory support, research support, equipment maintenance, instrumentation, quality control, and of course data generation and all the rest. When we mentioned those areas, I will only limit myself to the 4 options that we have in this university. Biological technology. It deals with technology of investigation into living organisms. And of course, it supports research in areas such as ecology, genetics. I want to advise, and it's very important, I was discussing today, we always peg the number of students you have. You can't have 20 microscopes, for example, and go and admit 200 students. It's not ethical. We deal with standard and ethics. The number of equipment and the personnel you have must start, because your students are supposed, as they are being taught the theory, they are supposed to learn the practical. Somebody that hasn't seen microscope, how do you now want to become a technologist and come and start showing it to students? It's not just drawing the microscope. This is the way microscope will look like. No. As SLT students, you must do your experiment using the microscope. Very important. So in biology, all this must be covered. Of course, chemistry technology, biological science, biochemistry technology, chemical petroleum technology, all this. Of course, some of the SLT graduates work also in oil and gas. Of course, we have geomining in SLT, microbiology, physics with electronics, and physiology pharmacology, which is also a course in SLT. For the Polytechnic, for example, they also do environmental biology. We have what we call histology, psychology. In fact, as at the last examination we did in April, we have 12 options of SLT that were written all over Nigeria. This we will talk about later. Of course, the institution, Ilesa, should now start planning to know that their students are going to write professional exam for them to be inducted into the profession, and the curriculum can be found online. Of course, graduates of SLT, irrespective of the institution, are to take the MPE examination, and of course, they have to get their license. In fact, I was with the NYSC not quite long, and we had this issue of people practicing. When you want to practice, I thank God that the nursing are also here. Somebody that graduates, when you want to start, you start practicing. So you must go to the NYSC with your license. Ditto to SLT, you must go to the NYSC with your license because you start practicing from there. So once you miss it, there can be a challenge. In fact, they will call us, this person is bringing this, can we accept it? I am on the platform. All those ones we have to know as a university. Of course, when you are graduating or you are doing induction, you'll be given a license to practice either as a technologist or a scientist, which is key for you when you are going for NYS. Let me just talk quickly about human resource management in SLT. You know, we have a number of challenges, and people tend to believe that, yes, SLT can just be like other sciences. SLT is a professional course, and of course it is expected that the HOD of that department must also have studied SLT, because that person must have license and must be able to present students for induction. If you are not a licensed person, how do you present students for induction? That can be a challenge. So we have qualifications for people that should be lecturing also in SLT department. Entry point. This is very, very important at Jamil, because most of the time people talk about their other sciences. According to the council, this document I've taken to MUC, SLT is a professional course. When I was in Uni Osun, the council of Osun State University approved that when you study accounting and have masters and have your ICANN, you go to lecturer 2. So SLT cannot also, after 75 years, do your professional exam and they go and put you as assistant lecturer with your masters. This lecturer 2. All this we are taking up, even with MUC. Some of these things have been causing issue all around, and we are trying to resolve. It's very important to know that. And of course, you have your PhD, lecturer 1, and then we move on. All this we can always see in the whatever. Of course, laboratory scientists have mentioned that if you have BSc or HND plus PhD and masters, make you to be a scientist, while the ones with HND stay as technologists. Of course, now, nature of training, pure professional and practical oriented. SLT must be done like that. I tell people, even despite the fact that I didn't have, of course, I started SLT by the grace of God. I wrote the proposal for SLT in Uni Osun. They wrote the first exam after I've left now. But I was in the Department of Physics, and when we teach students, when we take electronics with students, most of our students register their company before they graduate. They go and get CAC certificates because they can do battery charging, they can do solar installation, they can do repair, they can find. That is the way SLT is taught. Not that somebody will come and read resistor, connect resistor to resistor, and just give us total resistor and just do it up. They must practicalize it and of course get results. It's a practical oriented course that is why we say there must be number of students that will be admitted. Not having 150 students in a lab that will take only 20 students. What will they learn? It can be a challenge. Of course, we also have this issue, and like I mentioned, if you see, we have the mass of 1989, the B mass of 204, 217, 214, 217 talks about SLT and their cost scope and cost content. Because these are the generating issue, especially when we have the CC mass now. When you look at the B mass is FP means physics courses. If you can see, that is the way it was structured. But when we are doing the CC mass, we look at it. There are some universities. The curriculum you have is talking about biology, general biology 1. You can see it's STB 001. But in biology, it is actually Bio 101. The content are the same. So the students that are in SLT can actually also be part of this course, and that's the way we structure it in the past. But because we have the CC mass, If a university has somebody that is in microbiology and SLT, why can the student not join us? So that the student university will not, but doesn't say that course does not reside in SLT. When they have their, in Uniben is an example, is a faculty of SLT. All their courses, 100% is taught by SLT department. You can check that. The system has now changed all this, which we are looking at. I've told the executive secretary NUC that yes, that has been done, and he told me they are going to form a committee for 2 years now, and all the other courses that are practical. Now, SLT. SLT is actually an industrial bricklaying program depending on reliable laboratory services. It is important to know that there are standards, there are quality assurance, quality control to actually be followed to now say, I want to have good results from the laboratory. Of course, SLT contribute to the industry. Raw materials. Testing of raw materials. You have materials that are coming out from industries. SLT person should be trained to be able to have skill to be able to test raw materials. Product development, process optimization, product quality, and of course, must be able to carry out failure analysis. For the people that will do physiology pharmacology, they can always complement and work with pharmacists in drug analysis, stability study, and of course clinical laboratory support, and then good manufacturing practice, and of course regulatory testing. These are areas where somebody that studies SLT can actually pick up. We talk about food industry. Food industry talk about food safety, talk about shelf life determination, we talk about nutritional analysis, then we talk about microbial analysis. Yes, you can work with microbiologists and of course achieve this. Product certification also part of it. Oil and gas have been able to carry out accreditation in some labs in oil and gas, and I discovered that people that are supposed to be designing, you said you study chemical engineering. When you study engineering, you are supposed to be designing. You understand? You can bring your prototype, test it in the lab, and of course work with scientists. Then the lab people should be there to be able to now transform that to. That is why we are having a number of products. We cannot, take them and commercialize them because we just have them as prototype, and the people that are supposed to work on it are not working on it. So all our gas, SLT person can actually work the petroleum testing, lubrication analysis, corrosion testing. There are some of the pipe, for example, in the oil rig, you will see that some of the time we have oil spillage because of maybe crack in whatever, and to carry out that, we call something NDT tests. Some of these things are things that are supposed to, in fact, there should be, and that we are going to have nuclear science department here. These are some of the things, there must be synergy to be able to learn that. They are practical things. It's not just theory. You must be able to get radiation source. Of course, this one just go, it's not just at this level now. Where students will be able to test and see maybe, it's not just talking about alpha, beta, gamma, and you say physics and substance when you lose your skin. They should be able to see what you are talking about, and of course it will be there. So process control is also very important. Now in agriculture, they carry out soil analysis, seed testing, fertilizer analysis, pest diagnosis, and food security research. In mining, SLT graduates, of course, work as oil analysis. They work on meteorological testing and environmental monitoring. We talk about pollution, we talk about either air, water, and all the right. They can carry out these tests in their laboratory. SLT graduate can work in cement industry. It's quite unfortunate when you say, I got the SLT and I don't know what I am going to do. You can also even create job for yourself. And all these areas you can work. Concrete analysis, asphalt testing, building material certification. Of course, you can work in renewable energy. I told us, as a physicist, honestly speaking, in my house, I install my solar myself and it's working 24 hours. I don't connect to NEPA. I can always, because it's something I teach the student. And of course, before they graduate, all my students must know how to install. If I install solar whatever into there, that's a business that some people are sitting down on. Because you learn as a physicist or whatever, you should be able to teach the students how to do this, and of course they have a job even before they graduate from the university. So SLT help in solar component evaluation, energy efficiency study, and of course laboratory remains the central engine of industrial innovation. If we neglect laboratory, of course we are not going to have any results. So the contribution of science laboratory technology innovation, maintaining laboratory efficiency, precision, reliability are therefore indispensable. That is why we must take SLT as very important. In the module 4, of course we quickly look at SLT as a driver innovation. SLT drive innovation and in laboratory by providing scientific discoveries. There are some journals that when you are carrying out your work, yes, I'm a scientist or I'm a professor or they want to know who carry out, do you do this test yourself, or you have somebody that carry out this work. I am doing the theoretical part, this man does the practical part, and we combine and we have the work and we review it because I know the theorem, I know the theory, he knows the practical, he knows the skill, he knows the instrumentation, he knows the calibration. Then we collaborate together and have a fantastic publication. But some of the time, all these things are missing. Of course, product development, prototype testing, process improvement, technology transfer. You have a knowledge, you must be able to transfer it to others. And of course, it's not just developing anything alone. SLT encourage commercialization of the research work that we do. In the Federal Ministry of Science and Innovation, the minister recently is talking about commercialization. It's not just developing something on your shelf. Let us see how this can be commercialized and of course get into the industry. Then we talk about new pharmaceutical products, like the people that are in physiology and pharmacology, talk about water purification, local laboratory equipment fabrication. There are some equipment we can fabricate ourselves. And you know, some of the time I just look at it. They said we don't have, let's say, resistor in the lab. That I can buy a resistor of 10 ohms in that place. I just put wood on there and I put, and I'll be able to make it to the standard resistor. And we have it in the lab. Of course, we can have glass blowing. Fortunately, the institute in collaboration, we are able to get a glass blowing in this university. Only very few universities can talk about that. By now, this glass blowing is supposed to be producing glass. That glass blowing now is supposed to be producing gas. We expect to see testing, expect to see some certain things that this university can actually produce. That is part of the work of SLT. Of course, in fact, when we talk about SLT, it's not only a certificate support discipline, but also a significant driver of the economy. Of course, SLT contributes directly to economic productivity. And of course, we need to learn. First, laboratory professionals possessing the technical competency to establish independent laboratory. Now, you know, some of the time I tell people, you have done SLT, you want to graduate. What are you planning to do? Which you are going to look at. You can have your own lab. You can start your own lab and practice and have license for your laboratory to work. Of course, secondly, laboratory services support key sector of the national economy. I always tell people, and we need to know that, and that is why the federal government put entrepreneur in the curriculum of the students, and at NYSC, you are supposed to do entrepreneur. It's not everybody that will get salary job. It's not everybody. You have to prepare your mind, what you are learning. You know what some people do when they are doing practical, it's just one unit. Hey, that could be what you are going to actually stay on for the rest of your life. You are not supposed to miss it because it can actually help you. Of course, SLT, people work in the university, polytechnic, industry, hospitals, regulatory agency, and the research institute. And of course, according to this entrepreneurial opportunity, professional is expected to be an entrepreneur. Not just that I'm studying and I'm reading, I just have first class in SLT. From day one, you are supposed to be an entrepreneur that can produce job for yourself. The technical training acquired by SLT graduates equip them with practical knowledge. Quite unfortunately, I have seen some schools, when they are designing their curriculum, they remove engineering and technical drawing. I don't know if it is there in this university. You don't see do it in 100 level or 200 level. 200 level. Engineering and technical drawing. Yes. Why do they put that there? You can see where my paper was being read. As of today, I design laboratories and they want to design. When I was going to resume in Union Show, they said laboratories are not ready. And I told the vice chancellor, the provost, then I said, who are those people building the lab? They said the architect. I said, no. I am the one to design the laboratory for them. And we want to tell them where gas will enter, where water will enter, where they are going to have bench. And we want to design it. They said they didn't know that. And that was why we were asked to resume. And the university spent 3 million naira to do breakage of walls because they didn't carry people along from the onset. It is the expert that should design the lab. That is the essence of the SLT person. You must, in fact, when you are training in UI, you will be attached to all labs. You will be attached in the afternoon. You go to physics lab, you work there like a lab assistant, you see what they are doing. The next month you are in biology lab, you are in histology lab. You have experience all around laboratory. So that when you become a professional, they talk about any of the lab, you'll be able to give, solution about it. The technical training, of course, acquired by SLT graduates, equip them with practical laboratory skills that can be transformed into viable business ventures. I used to have a friend who studied chemistry. Unfortunately, he's late now. He worked in a lab for 35 years and he was about retiring. 2 weeks to that time, he came to me and said, my friend, I want to retire. I don't know what I'll be doing. I just looked down. I said, but you are, the little chemistry I even did tell me about oil, fuel, this, mixing, some soap, all this. He said, I don't even know how to start. It's a challenge. All this must be done practically. You never can tell. I tell people, if you can do soap now. Go to fantastic hotel. Any of you are going to Oriental hotel and whatever. You see soap, specialized pomade, cream that they put in all the hotels. Why are those people doing it? These are things that we can do even before we start graduating from the university. As a certain student, all this must be incorporated. As scientific testing and quality assurance become increasingly important, the demand for specialized laboratory services continue to grow. Of course, as laboratory scientists, the wealth creation tells you about self-employment. In fact, it should be number one primary thing. If the job comes, fine, it is good. But you can, I tell people, to actually make it, it's not salary earner. To get money, it's not salary earner. My friends, the ones that we collaborate with, some of you are going to see. Some people supply chemical reagents, equipment to the university. You want to supply maybe AAS to the university, for example, and they said the AAS is about 25 million naira, and you want to supply it, and they give you the contract. How much are you going to make? Do you think it's going to be like my salary? You are going to get fantastic money. And some other equipment, of course, that probably we are going to mention and talk about. So we talk about inter-laboratory, calibration laboratory, water laboratory, and of course, designing of, I've mentioned this, designing of laboratory as a consultant. You design laboratory. There are laboratories they want to establish in Port Harcourt, so they will call us. Who do we send to them to be able to design? Know that has the skill to be able, because you are told design and give them the brief. Then the architect cannot take it up. The architect is not the lab scientist. You cannot start looking at the book or looking at online to be able to design. You are the professional that should be able to design that. Of course, emerging businesses, you have laboratory automation, which is important now. You can see that I was telling somebody that when we were in school, when we were taught electronics, my lecturer never even taught laptop. Doesn't know anything about laptop. Digital connect, system of Canava, this, we are connecting it digitally. Now I can connect, doing simulation on laptop, and I connect my resistor and I look at it, resistor 10K plus this phone, this, give me result. You give me light, and I have the bulb. I will have gotten the prototype before I even go to the market and start buying. I just do quantity bills of this. Give me the amount, and I know what I'm going to buy in the market. Now automation is coming in. This must be encouraged in SLT. Artificial intelligence in laboratory management, laboratory information system, software development, very important. That is why I know ICT should be part of your work that you are going to do. Now, when you are in the lab, I was telling some people the training we had. When you talk about safety, unfortunately we had an accident somewhere in where a lion, actually killed somebody. If you have a robot, you have designed a robot, can the robot not work to go and give lion food? And it is not going to be human being that will be there physically. If the lion wants to kill the robot, then I don't losing anything. So we must get to that level whereby safety will also be incorporated. That is why in SLT, as a course, you have hazard and safety. I think it's a course. It's a semester course. You need to learn that. Of course, you will get the experience. Environmental monitoring services, radiation safety consultancy. Well, I won't talk much about that. Or I should just mention a bit of this, and it's important. In the work I am doing now, we have about 120 different cancerous whatever. We have cancer of the mouth, cancer of this. But I'm interested much in breast cancer. And let me tell us this. Look that you are using perfume. Any perfume that have aluminium, don't put it on your listening. You understand what you are talking about? Perfume is meant for your clothes, not your body. You get what you are saying? You now when you put perfume directly in your armpit, it's going straight into your bloodstream. And it's a challenge. And we have seen a number of people having breast cancer. have thousands of people having whatever, and it's becoming an issue. And we can't even get the source because we can't link them together. So it's important. Part of the thing you must learn, because there is a radiation and whatever in SLT, you must also learn about that. Instrumentation calibration also very important. Of course, this I just summarize this agriculture part and all the rest, where you can have key SLT person actually performing in this area and actually be part of the economic sector of the nation. So in Module 6, you talk about quality control and quality assurance. Laboratory quality infrastructure is also very important. When we carry out accreditation, this is very important. Even when NUC carry out accreditation or anybody carry out accreditation, they look at resources. And when you talk about resources, you talk about 4 cardinal things. Number 1, personnel. If it is academic, you talk about lecturer, you talk about personnel. Who is the personnel that is managing your lab? Is he a certified and professional that have license to run the lab? But you just employ people into the lab. You just say, yeah, just be training that person. Maybe I should cut a bit. You are in a place and a student died in one university in Nigeria, and it became a problem. They dragged that for about 2 years. The parents, took the university to court, and they dragged. But along the line, the judge invited as witness or whatever the chief, asked for the chief technologist, and they asked him what happened. Give us the narration of what actually happened. And he mentioned all those things and these are the things we do, and unfortunately this happened unexpected. And they asked the man, are you a professional? He said, I'm a professional. I have license. That is what said the university. So when you employ quality assurance people that you employ in the lab, you don't employ anybody has studied something and you put that in the lab, it can affect the university or anybody at the time. The people that must be in the laboratory must be qualified and be certified all the time. I was in FUNAP and I was doing interview for them, and somebody said they are not requesting. The vice chancellor, you are not requesting. You don't know you are supposed to have the license. If anything happens, what will happen? So we must have license. And the second thing we look at is infrastructure, laboratory, the facility. Is it purpose built? Is it designed very well? Then we look at the equipment. Is it calibrated? I tell people, if I say 4 times 4, what's the result? 16, 4 times 4. But I press my one, it says 20. Have I got the result or not? Do I get result? I got results, but is it accurate results? So people actually use equipment that are not giving accurate results. They are getting results, but they are not accurate results. So it's a challenge. So we are talking about reproducibility, we talk about traceability. Then you want to compare the result. Is he actually doing the right thing? Then you talk about quality control and of course calibration factors. I will talk more about that. So all this, of course, I mentioned standardization, calibration, proficiency. All this must be inculcated in SLT training, and you must understand how to go about them. Testing, traceability. How can the result be traced? Who actually issued this result? Who is the person? In the instance, for example, we give you a seal. And when you have a seal, your name and your number is there. If you give a wrong result, you can always be arrested. Of course, verification is also very important. Benefit of laboratory quality system, it will help your result. You want to have results that will be recognized internationally. Then you can export your work. Consumer confidence, people will be happy to see your work. And of course, you are going to meet up with regulatory compliance. Students on graduation of the SLT, of course, can take up career as follows. Number 1, the biochemistry. I won't mention all this. All these areas they can work, beverage, whatever, food, drug, government area, pharmaceutical, environmental, water industry, microbiology. Of course, they can work in the center and disease control, food, drug, this, water corporation, waste, this, environmental. All this, you are studying microbiology, you can work in those areas. Chemistry, my friend that's retired. Maybe they don't understand this. I don't know what his problem was then that time. So, as a chemist, you can work in industry, you can work in university, research, you can work in plastic, building, of course, soap and detergent, vegetable oil, all this part of the thing. Of course, ceramics, iron and steel, and of course, iron and gas. Fuse electronics, so numerous. You can work in this area, solar energy, robotics, environmental battery, communication, all these areas, even photography. These are areas where, of course, to study SLT physics electronics, you can work in those areas. Of course, SLT relevant in health, relevant in agriculture, relevant in environment, relevant in education, relevant in industry, relevant in national security. Here we talk about forensic investigation now. Forensic investigation talk about 4 cardinal things. The person that did biochemistry, you are needed. Somebody that did physics is needed. Somebody that did law is needed. Somebody that did chemistry. They combine themselves together to be able to do investigation of forensic. All these are also very important. And of course, toxicology and radiation monitor, very important. Emerging technologies, yes. We cannot now stay. I told us, I said, when I learned electronics, we are just doing discrete components. We have to go and upgrade ourselves. Now, these days now, you now have nanotechnology. You can't sit down with the knowledge of 1970 something and now say you want to perform. That is why you must take your practical, you must take, all the things you are doing are very important. Artificial intelligence, no. Some people just use it as shortcut. You are supposed to actually learn it. The way you're supposed to actually be able to help you very well is very important. Of course, we talk about 3D printing now, and we talk about laboratory information system. Now, in NISLT, we have what we call a seal. When you are a professional, you are supposed to have a seal to seal the result that is coming out from your lab. And of course, you can operate a private lab. I mentioned that. You can work water laboratory. You can set up the water laboratory, food quality laboratory testing, environmental monitoring laboratory, pharmaceutical laboratory. All this you can do establishing your private lab. In the institute, for example, we also have licensing for vendors, people that supply equipment agent. We need to actually check them. Look at it. I want to carry out research, and somebody go and give me a chemical that is expired. Will I be able to get good results? So who do I want to now go and meet? Because the person is not a professional, he just go to a lab and just buy chemical. Who do you want to arrest? But once it is a professional that does that, that person is liable. You must have a license to actually be able to do that. Then we have what we call registration of instrumentation and equipment calibration experts in Nigeria. We also give them license. So all these licenses in the institute are available for graduates of SLT, license for red blood, all these ones. And of course, it is expected they are injected into the profession. Future outlook. The future laboratory will feature smart laboratories. I told somebody, yes, you are carrying out some assignments or some work in your lab, but you want to go home. Now your phone, from home, you can decide to say, I want the freezer to work, and you want to switch off. You want to even see, you can see. You want to switch off the refrigerator in your lab at a particular time. So that level, we are getting to that level. We must be able to synergize and be able to have that technology that will be able to help us. So it's not just conventional, just learning the theory in the office alone, in the class, without having the practical knowledge that is expected. Of course, AI-assisted diagnosis. This is very important. I just mentioned, it's a serious thing when we have people having cancer, different cancers now. Can we develop an AI-assisted thing that can help us? I know somebody that is working on, I'm sorry, I need to use that, this thing that women use, bra. They are working on it to actually be able to test if a woman, something, a lump is in the woman's whatever and all the rest. Some of these things we must be able to be able to help humanity. Of course, we talk about remote laboratory, green laboratory, precision manufacturing, and we talk about even anonymous analytical system. So future outlook. The science and waste technologies and scientists will increasingly become a strategic driver of innovation. It's not just doing something, you must have innovation with it. Quality assurance, industrial productivity, regulatory compliance, and sustainable economic development. For example, a man that says you cannot walk into his lab without your lab coat is not a wicked man. He's following the ethics. You can't enter my lab if you don't have your lab coat, because the rule says that, and you must follow the rule. So if you don't come with your lab coat, for example, let's say lab coat and some other thing, you won't enter the lab. So, well, recommendation. I of course have these references, the NIST Act and all this. Thank you very much.
Let me commend and appreciate the guest speaker for the mind-blowing and motivating tips he has delivered to science laboratory technology students who I think are better informed today. And those of us that are not in SLT, you have somehow to captivated our hearts to align with you. I want to thank you, and let me also commend with respect to your multidisciplinary background as educationists, which NUC is trending towards, encouraging members of the academia to take a degree, a diploma training in education because of the teaching pedagogy, and so you have demonstrated that. I'm glad to identify with you from the Faculty of Education for that background. Sir, I think two things why this is actually very stimulating for anyone who is here after this lecture. For those in science, laboratory, technology, they should not just be myopic about employment. With all the diverse areas they have been exposed to, right from the campus, they should be entrepreneur. Right from campus, they should be making money. And that is the essence of this course. And I know that is the drive of NUC now, as much as possible, to make sure that every individual, irrespective of the course you study, you go out, you can create wealth for yourself without government. Now, sir, I'm happy you have mentioned what your council is doing with respect to approaching professional NUC regulatory bodies. This dichotomy and sometimes the challenges, confrontations and discriminations we have in institutions where an individual with SLT, whether ND SLT, coming to university to come and study MLS, not accepted. Somebody in MLS coming to, things like that. And if the background of what we have in science, laboratory, technology, you have mentioned the other time, 12, 11 and 12. The acts were given almost the same time, and if I am privy to see, virtually we have things that are so synonymous in those things. So why the discrimination? So people at the level of your council should work, let there be synergy as much as possible. And the world we are in now in the 21st century is looking at multidisciplinary discourse, approach to things, approach to ways. So what can SLT do in collaboration with MLS? What can MLS do in collaboration with nursing? These are the areas so that our students will not be at the mercy of all these somehow the policies that sometimes can just bust them to the corner. So I will appreciate that you address that. Also, the issue of the curriculum, good enough, irrespective of who are head of department or dean of the faculty who is trying to project whatever is the standard of the SLT in his or her university. But if it's in conflict with CC Mass now, which is the 18, nobody wants to hear anything outside the CC Mass. Therefore, it will be helpful for institutions running the 24 institutions and those to join running SLT not to have any challenge in operating what is standard. As we have in other programs that they will do induction, so SLT graduates will have to be inducted and they must follow the rudiment. But if the bottleneck with CC Mass is not addressed per se in getting the curriculum embedded in NUC, it will still be challenging for a university, for a university running SLT, MLS, and other courses that are the same, like you mentioned the other time, SLB, which is the same with BAU 101. It saves cost for a university to have a lecturer to take both SLT and maybe those in sciences. But by the time a department wants to say, okay, we have staff, we have to take our course and whatever, if there is no understanding, there will be gap Bearing in mind too that those in the sciences or those from MLS or whatever with to take Bio 101 and those staff in SLT to take SLB 101, they are both qualified to handle this. So I would advise that your council should do most of the job to make it easier. I'm happy that Indonesia has gotten it right from the beginning, but notwithstanding, there will still be bottlenecks that will be confronted. On this note, I want to congratulate the Dean of the Faculty of SLT. Your students, a lot of goods with this maiden lecture, except they are not here in mind. What they have had from the first man in Council of SLT should make them at rest that they are not disciplined. As I will join in, every discipline too we want to project his discipline at the best. And so, without mixing words, they have not met to SLT, and they should make the faculty, the university proud by becoming worthy ambassadors of SLT. Thank you, guest lecturers.
Okay, there's another question.
On the options, you mentioned the other time that the Ilesa started with 4 options. But in those days, in UN, when the science lab tech was running, there are some options that have been scrapped now. For example, history, zoology, physics, and histology and psychology. What are the institutes doing to resuscitate those beautiful options? And again, the second part, the resuscitation of SLT UI diploma program to degree to BSc Tech. What are the institutes doing about this? Thank you, sir.
Our registrar, the DG of NISLT, thank you for that laudable and wonderful presentation. And I'm thanking and greeting or extending my appreciation to the Dean and then the university at large. At large. What I just want to say is just to encourage the students. To God be the glory. Dr. Oluwabisoye knows me very well. Initially, I don't want to say what I want to say, but I just need to encourage our students. You are in the right place. You are doing the right course. If I can stand before you, I study SLT at entry level, at HND level, chemistry, biochemistry, before proceeded for a BSc, Masters, then PhD. Today, I'm one of the adjunct lecturers here. And the last time I met with you when I was taking nutrition about chemistry, I think I mentioned something, and I said, if you can work on this course, you are a millionaire already. Because through that nutritional biochemistry, you can become somebody that is producing results. All you need to do is to think deeply within you. Take out something better out of the courses you are offering. As I'm standing before you today, I don't want to mention, he knows me. At least I've worked with him and the project of millions for him, even before I became DG director. Not only that, I'm consultant to many as I'm standing before you. Presently, the university is constructing a laboratory. And somebody has to give them a number. The person that will handle it for you is this person. When I go there, I look at what those architects have done, I'm not pretty sure of them. Today, that will be a laboratory commission in 2 weeks' time. I was there on Saturday to do final inspection. Not only that, as I'm standing before you, I sat down and think about my courses. Chemistry, biochemistry, what else can I bring out of this course? I tried to, let me just pause a bit. Today, in the old GT bank, I'm the one fumigating for them. So, all you need to do, don't let me continue to say this. But think deeply what you can get out of it. Thank you very much.
We should allow the guest lecturer to questions.
First question. SLT, challenge with MLS. Well, you know Nigeria, somebody mentioned everybody, just like my prof said, everybody wants to protect his own territory. And that, brings about a challenge in the country. I've tried to look at it all over the world. Only very few countries actually separated SMT from MLS. Only very few countries. They actually work together. But in Nigeria, there is a law that separated the two. But we are working at our end to see how we can actually have synergy. In fact, I just called my HRM this morning to develop a letter because the MLS also have their acting DG confirmed just last week Friday. So I'm to send a letter of congratulatory message to him. I believe that after sending that, we then pay a courtesy call and we can see how we can have synergy. All the students that we are developing is to develop the nation. By the time we start fighting each other and having rivalry and all this, there will be challenges and nobody will be able to grow. So we believe from our head that we are going to actually get in touch with them and see how we can work together. On the second one, curriculum. Yes, just like I mentioned, I was with the NUC Executive Secretary November last year. I will talk about extensively about a lot of things. In fact, I told him about some things about the CCMAS, and he realized that there are some gaps. And he told me and my team that the CCMAS came out 2022. It's supposed to last for 5 years, and he said by 2026 they are likely going to set up a committee because it's been like remaining 1 year that we now start looking at the curriculum. From our head at the institute, we have constituted 7-man committee to look at the CCMAS or SLT and come out with a recommendation to NUC. So I'm working on that so that we can harmonize all these gaps that we actually have to be able to correct them for the future. Well, this is not for somebody talk about UI and scrapping of some courses. Now, just like you mentioned, if you have studied SLT, I can assure you that you have studied SLT before 2003, before the Act came. When the Act came at the Parliament, there are some certain things that were taken away from us and some added to us, like the zoology and fisheries. Zoology and you have the zoology. Why should we just combine that with, and they just said, like we have physics production engineering. Let the engineering go. We can have physics production technology, not physics production engineering. So some of these things were fine-tuned as at the time the Act came, and some were dropped, probably because of lack of lecturers that will draw the curriculum. I can tell you, how many people actually are specialists in zoology, cytology in Nigeria today? Very few. And of course, SLT, UNICA is the only university running histology, cytology as a program as of today. And the truth is that histology, cytology curriculum is not in the CCMAS. It's supposed to be in the BMAS and them. It's not in the CCMAS. So, in the committee that we have set up, some of the ones that we can always bring back, because the truth is that we are now having some labs that cannot have professional training and just put people there to work. Some of these gaps that we are seeing, we are going to see how we'll be able to bring them together. And lastly, you talk about UI. Well, yesterday night, I sent a letter to a message to the Vice Chancellor of UI. By the grace of God, I will be meeting him on 15th of July. 15th of July is the date I actually put to meet him, so that we'll be able to talk about UI is actually a great university, no doubt about it, and of course it's helping other universities around. Not having SLT run at the undergraduate level is a challenge. We are working on that. Don't let me just talk much. I want to appreciate the other speakers. I think I've answered all the questions. I want to also appreciate Bola and whatever, and my brother here, Samuel, lecturers, everybody. I want to appreciate you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
You will pardon me. When I wanted to mention your name the other time, in all honesty, let me just say the truth, and let the devil be ashamed. I wanted to say Professor Adefisoye, Oluwafisoye. So I needed to read the book again. I said, Dr. Adi. Now again, I wanted to mention his name. That please just stand up. I wanted to say again that Professor Adebisi Olamisi. I don't know. It is very good. Thank you, sir. Indeed, you have opened our hearts. And so coming here is a blessing. And indeed, we are blessed. So on behalf of the Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology, we give you this token. You like it. Please accept it.
We want to appreciate God Almighty for His enablement He has given to us to hold the first faculty lecture series for Faculty of Science and Technology. And the program really can be successful without the support of the VC and management altogether. And on that note, I want to thank our VC, Professor Taiwo Olufemi Ashaolu, ably represented by the chairman, the faculty committee of dean, Professor Eber Kolawole Olubanji. Thank you for coming. And by section 2, I also want to I appreciate the registrar, Mr. Funsho Ojo, ably represented by the DR Government Council, Mrs. Lekola Aroshenbe. You are welcome. And all other principal officers who are absentia, we appreciate them. And my brother, my friend, that is the acting director general of NIS, who has deemed it fit, despite the tight schedule, and honor our invitation to come for this faculty lecture series. We appreciate you, sir, and we pray that God will grant you Godly mercy back to the government. Your presence has been a blessing to us. I want to appreciate our deans and directors, that have given it fit to be here with us, and the all HOD too, and coordinators. We really appreciate your presence. And I want to also appreciate all our staffs in the 4 departments in the faculty of SLT. SLT, the chemistry, technology, SLT, the microbiology, SLT, the biochemistry, SLT, the physics, electronics, for the awesome work that you are doing and that you have made it to be successful. You are all appreciated. Then I want to equally appreciate the executive of Africa, that Association of Science, Laboratory Technology, executive in Osun State. We have 2 of their representatives here. You are welcome, sir. And God will bless you as you go back to your various destinations. And I want to, a tree does not make a forest. And I'm being no chance or opportunity because this is the chairman, other committee members and some committee members who has deemed it fit to have been laboring to ensure that we have each free faculty lecture series. Please, wherever you are all appreciated. And I pray that God will also work for you in Jesus' name. And I want to also appreciate other university members who give me fit to be here. And for the eye-opening lectures that we have received, I really appreciate you for coming. And lastly, too, I want to appreciate our students for 2 reasons. One, we have the privilege to know and to see our DG of the institute. It's a real privilege. There are some students that until they graduate, they will not see the DG for once. Even at the day of their induction, the DG may wish to send a lecture for them. So it is a privilege for you that you have come here and you are able to see the DG yourself and able to hear from the office mouth. It is, and I want to also appreciate that you really demonstrate a decorum. You are cool,
calm and collected. And remember that last week I gave you an assignment, and that assignment, half of the job has been done, and you have to submit that assignment by tomorrow by 10 a.m. Where I want to listen. And the assignment says, of SLT in wealth legislation for national development. So by 10 a.m. tomorrow, I already read the page. Is it 10 pages? We don't need to write more than 20 pages from the lesson so far. So because of the fact that you pay enough attention, I suspect the solution of that assignment. God bless you, and the Lord will help us and make use of these people this time of God. God bless you all.
To the end of this event, immediately after here, we will move out for group photographs. Shall we rise as we take the anthem? you very much. We do that for